Back to Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN on a Tuesday edition. Phillies insider Frank Klose is down in Clearwater, where the Phillies open up the spring training Grapefruit League portion of their schedule today. They are currently in action against the Blue Jays. And, of course, Frank posts his mailbag on the website, 973ESPN.com. Part of Philadelphia.com is where you can read all of Frank's stuff via sportstalkphilly.com. And Frank is in Clearwater now, where the Phillies are underway against the Blue Jays. And, Frank, the spring training opening day lineup today, this could be a glimpse into the future, could it not?
Yeah, I think the big question revolves around Peter Bourjos. He's not really a leadoff hitter. If you look at his on-base percentage in his career, he's only been over 300 twice. He also hasn't stolen a lot of bases lately either. If they're trying him in the leadoff spot, there could be the possibility that they're just trying to get him as many at-bats as possible now to see what his bat has. But he's getting a look, and if he can hit, that's where he could find himself.
Were you surprised that Pete Mackinnon the other day said that Bourjos was going to be more of a corner outfielder and that Herrera was going to be the center fielder for all intents and purposes? It looks like Herrera is playing there today and that he will be the center fielder.
I think that makes a lot of sense because if you think about it, Peter Bourjos is here just on a one-year deal. If they can, they'll probably try to trade him later in the season. So really to disrupt Odubel Herrera just because you have a better defensive center fielder for right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense, when you're really building your club for a long-term. Looking at your long-term outfield, you probably want to keep Herrera comfortable. You want to keep working on his skills, even though Bourjos is a better defensive center fielder.
Frank, let's open up the mailbag and see some of the questions that you're getting this week. And I like question number one here from Eric. He wants to know, what are your predictions for the opening day starting rotation? Who will be the five guys? It looks like the Phillies are much better off in the starting rotation than they were last year.
They most certainly are. I mean, last year, after you got a couple injuries, people were wondering who the heck was going to start for the Phillies. Last year, they actually optioned Sean O'Sullivan to the minor league camp, and then next thing you know, they're grabbing him back because they had absolutely no one. So this year, they have 10 options, and some of them are clearly going to be part of the starting rotation. I think we can call Aaron Nola a lock right off the bat. We can call Jared Eichhoff a lock right off the bat, provided he's okay. I mean, he did have that broken thumb, but all indications are he should be ready to go. Jeremy Hellicksen, the acquisition from Arizona, he's probably as good as a lock because they did not trade for him to put him in any other role. And same thing with Charlie Morton. They committed $9 million to him, which is a lot of money. But they committed that money to him because they wanted that stability in the rotation. And in terms of Morton and Hellicksen, they're really looking for some stability in that starting rotation that they didn't have last year. And they're hoping that veteran presence would do that. And the question is, beyond that, who's next? And the Phillies have 6 different options for that fifth spot in starting rotation. And that's where it gets a little tricky. Right now, I'd say the best bet might be newcomer Vincent Velasquez because they traded Ken Giles for him. He was really the centerpiece of that deal, even though they got some other pieces. And Brett Oberholzer also is somebody to look at for the fifth spot. He also came in that trade from the Houston Astros, and he's out of minor league options, which is something else worth noting. So Oberholzer probably makes the team.
Yeah, now let's look at some of these guys here. Jared Eichhoff, he had that broken thumb, but he was a guy, Frank, last year. I mean, the last half of the September there when he got really, I think he had about 20-plus starts, but really started to get in a groove in that last month of the season. He was a guy that I thought really exceeded expectation and impressed a lot.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think he sort of earned himself a spot in the rotation this year. Granted, it's a small sample size still. A lot could happen between now and the opening of the season. I mean, if he gets shelled throughout the rest of spring training and velocity is down, that might be a reason for concern. But I think he's pretty much locked up his situation in the starting rotation thanks to last year. Although, he could regress some, but we'll have to see once the games actually begin.
Frank Klose is in Clearwater with the Phillies. Our mailbag questions looking at the starting rotation. How about the two veterans in that rotation, Jeremy Hellicksen and Charlie Morton. Hellicksen, really a free agent year. I talked about him yesterday, Frank. I find him to be interesting because depending on what he does, he could be a trade candidate at the deadline, or the Phillies are going to have a lot of money next year in free agency, and depending on how this year goes, they might want to bring Hellicksen to be a stabilizer for the back end of their rotation once they feel this thing is ready to take a step forward.
I think they had possibly flipping him in mind. I think if you look at the number of young Philly starters, we're certainly going to see a lot of them continue to progress. They might not have room for him in the future, or who knows? Maybe they do want one veteran guy in there. Hellicksen, of course, was Rookie of the Year when he came up with Tampa Bay. Struggled a little bit the last couple of years, had a couple nagging injuries. But I think best case scenario for the Phillies is that he pitches well, and then come July, they can trade him to a contender who desperately needs somebody in the middle of their rotation in a way that Joe Bland really filled that kind of hole for the Phillies in 2008.
Yeah, Frank, and Charlie Morton's another guy. I think, a couple of years ago, Charlie Morton was trying to be like a young Roy Halladay. A lot of people were kind of looking at his delivery and stuff, and his numbers haven't worked out to be a Roy Halladay. But what do you see for Morton? Is he a guy that also could be somebody that gets flipped at the deadline?
I think that's also what the Phillies hope as well. Morton, he was never really been an overwhelmingly dominant type pitcher. That's right. He's known for having a delivery that looks just like Roy Halladay's. If you ever get a chance and can take a look at it, compared to Halladay, it really is reminiscent of Halladay. But he's always been a guy that sort of you hope that can be like a 500 pitcher, can be a guy who has an ERA in 3 or 4s, and not much more than that. You don't expect a lot. What you do get from him is just some of that stability towards the back end of a rotation if you're a contender. And that's what he's been for the Pittsburgh Pirates the last couple of years. And his presence really did help the Pirates take a step forward, usually out of that fifth spot in the rotation. And if the Phillies can flip him to somebody who just needs that somebody who's not going to kill them every fifth day as they try to hang in there for a playoff chase, Morton might be it. And again, he's not going to overwhelm you or go 15-9, but he is a useful piece to a lot of teams, and I think the Phillies are hoping that they can flip him to somebody.
Yeah, and today's starting pitcher was Severino Gonzales. He's a guy who got hit around last year, ERA of around 8. Alec Asher did not have a very good time at the big league level. David Buchanan impressed in 2014, but he really struggled in 2015. Those three guys, long shots. And then there's Adam Morgan, who was steady last year. Of those guys there, do you think any of them is a wild card for the fifth spot?
Well, Adam Morgan really stepped up last year when the Phillies were absolutely desperate. He was one of those players where when he came up, my first thought was, wow, they must be desperate to grab him now. It's not to say he doesn't have talent or he can't develop into something, but they really jumped ahead with Adam Morgan. And one thing to consider, too, is that in the Phillies bullpen, Mario Hollins is still out with his Tommy John surgery. And we're not going to really see him pitch for a few months at the earliest. And Elvis Araujo, he was also kind of rushed to the major leagues last year, the other lefty that has pitched in the major league. And then you have some non-roster invitees that are candidates for a left-hand spot in the bullpen. Now, if all goes well, we could see that he ends up possibly in the Phillies bullpen, filling that need that they just don't have anybody to fill at the moment.
Frank Klose. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. In terms of the other guys, Asher and Gonzales, both of them also completely rushed. And I think that they need some seasoning in AAA, and they'll probably get an opportunity to go down to Lehigh Valley and start every fifth day, as will probably David Buchanan, and see if he can sort of right himself.
Frank Klose in Clearwater with the Phillies. They're going to play the Blue Jays today. A couple old Phillies. Did you get a chance to see Dom Brown walking around for the Blue Jays as getting ready for the season for them? Dom Brown, especially as he just got picked up a week or so ago. Here's the former #1 prospect in baseball. What a story!
Dom Brown did not make the trip to Clearwater. So he is not even on the bench today. So we'll really have to wait till the Phillies face the Blue Jays tomorrow in Dunedin to hopefully get some access to Dom Brown. He did do one interview with a media outlet, Sportsnet in Toronto there, but we haven't really got to talk to him yet. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get to hear from him a little bit.
All right, good stuff from Frank. Of course, the mailbag is up at 97.3ESPN.com. Frank Klose, part of SportsTalkPhilly.com and Philadelphia.com, where you can check out all of their Phillies coverage. And Frank in Clearwater. We will check back with Frank when the game is over, see who impressed today as the Phillies really putting their regulars in the lineup to start things off against the Blue Jays. All right, Frank, enjoy the rest of this game.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Frank Klose, everybody, is live in Clearwater. He'll be live with us throughout this Phillies season. We'll have more on the Phillies when this game is over with Frank today.